Yeah, so this is a question about cybersecurity. How are you advising the companies you're investing in to protect themselves? And also, is there an opportunity for you as an investor to create solutions there?
So one of the cybersecurity is one of the evergreen investments in venture capital. Greylock, my firm, has a number of people who have made things like Palo Alto Networks, which was incubated at Greylock, and a number of things. And so cybersecurity is super important. Essentially, however terrified you are about cybersecurity, you're probably not terrified enough, right? The fact that all of this infrastructure is there, there's this ability for worldwide hacking, including state-sponsored groups and hostile nation states, in order to do that, in order to make ransom attacks. It's a critical issue for the country. One part of the solution will be startups. Those will be things that we as venture capitalists will be doing. Another part will be, essentially, how do we allow the tech companies to actually collaborate together? To say, look, on this, you guys can collaborate. Because normally they don't collaborate. They compete intensely. It's the rules of competition, the rules of markets. But in cyberspace, we need that security layer in order to have a healthily running society, and I think that's something we need.
How much greater is the risk because we're now in this hybrid work environment? Does it make it a much bigger risk, and how does that play into your investments in the future of work?
I actually think it makes less of a risk because I think people are more familiar with it. And, there may be a risk that your video conferencing is hacked or listened to or something. But, by the way, the hacking of spaces is usually people dropping USB keys, saying like family pics outside the parking lot in order to gain access to your corporate network and so forth. So all of that is actually, in fact, reduced. And in terms of the collaboration of work, one of the reasons why I think we're seeing such on productivity through the pandemic and afterwards is because all these tools now people are beginning to use them. They're using things like, at Greylock, we've invested in Coda and Figma and Remotion. They're using them to design the way they work and design the way they work to say, how do you work? Not just follow whatever the company says it, but make your company work efficiently in the way that you have a competitive differentiation. I think that's what's coming out of this. And of course, some of that is remote, which is how do we have talent that we could have anywhere? We could have the talent in Kansas. We could have the talent in Canada. We could have the talent, in, the Mediterranean. All these places, we bring them together and we can now harness them for the products we're building.
And so as you look at your investment options now and the different categories that you want to bet on, how do you think the consumer is going to be different, both the enterprise consumer and the everyday consumer? And how do you want to think about investing in platforms, which I know you like to bet on, as well as startups that would serve these new types of consumers? So
as you know, I always think about networks and platforms. I think there's a whole world of productivity that's coming. That's some of the ones we mentioned before. I think there's also another generation of entertainment coming. And what's more, everyone's kind of realized, hey, this is something that we've all become much more expert at our mobile phones. We've all become much more expert at our computers. We're actually, in fact, all much more digital native as a function of this, and that creates massive opportunities. And part of the thing is part of the evolution of these software platforms is when the next generation of comfort, because it used to be what's a word processor? Now everyone's like, well, which of 30 word processors are you using? Now that it becomes comfortable in terms of how you do that work, you're just seeing an explosion of creativity, which is also, of course, creating creative marketplaces where people are, everything from Etsy, to, TikTok and Patreon, all these places where people can offer their creativity to the world.
Fascinating time to be investing in these new platforms and networks. Reid Hoffman, always great to get your insight into the future. We appreciate you talking to us today.
Shepard Smith here. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube.